I never thought I'd be sharing this story, but here I am at 29, looking back at what happened 2 years ago. I met her at a coffee shop where she worked as the store supervisor. I had gone there to return a faulty coffee machine, and there was some confusion with another customer. That's when she stepped in to resolve the situation. We started dating shortly after, and for the first time in my life, I felt what true love was. She gave me her complete attention and made me feel special in ways I had never experienced before. After dating for about a year and a half, we decided to move in together. It felt right. We wanted to spend more time together and build our future. I tried my best to be a good boyfriend. We both worked full-time jobs and shared the same dream of starting our own business. She was ambitious and had this way of turning impossible dreams into reality. By our 3rd year together, we had saved enough money to start an online retail business. But things didn't go as planned. The business failed miserably, and we lost almost half of our savings. We couldn't sell the products we had ordered and ended up selling them to friends and coworkers at heavily discounted prices just to recover something. That's when our problems began. To make up for our losses, we both took second jobs. I started driving for a rideshare company in the evenings, while she got a job as a bartender at an upscale restaurant. The pay was good, especially with the tips she received, but everything changed after that. The first thing I noticed was how our communication dropped. Earlier, she would tell me everything about the celebrities who visited the restaurant, funny incidents during her shifts, and even about customers who tried to flirt with her. We used to laugh about these things together because I trusted her completely. But gradually, the stories stopped. At first, I thought it was just the exhaustion from working 2 jobs. We barely had time to talk when we got home. We just eat, shower, and sleep. I expected things would be better on weekends, but they weren't. She would sleep in late, do household chores, and that was it. Even when I tried to start conversations, she seemed uninterested. Then she started staying out late. The first time, she said she went out with her coworkers to unwind and had to crash at one of their places because she was too drunk to drive. I believed her, but it became a pattern. She would come home at 4 a.m. smelling of alcohol, and eventually, she had to quit her day job because of frequent hangovers. Her attitude changed completely. She became easily irritated and would snap at the smallest things. If I mentioned that dinner was overcooked, she wouldn't cook for days. But what really caught my attention was how she suddenly started wearing expensive clothes and accessories. She bought designer bags, shoes, and even this expensive perfume she had been wanting since we first started dating. When I asked how she could afford all this, she claimed it was from the generous tips she received from wealthy customers. Everything came crashing down one weekend night. I was watching TV when my phone battery died. I went to our bedroom to get my charger, which she was using. When I checked if her phone was charged enough to unplug it, I saw messages from a contact asking if she had received their latest gift. That's when my world turned upside down. I couldn't help myself. I unlocked her phone using her fingerprint while she slept. The messages were from a local music producer who was quite famous in our city. There weren't many messages visible, but what I saw was enough to tell me he was the one behind all those expensive gifts. I felt sick to my stomach. I woke her up right there and confronted her about the messages. She just sat there for a moment before claiming he was just a friend. According to her, when he mentioned doing it again, he was talking about going shopping. I knew that was a lie, but I kept my cool. But then she turned it around on me. She started yelling about how I had no right to check her phone and demanded an apology. That's when I lost it. I told her to either return all the gifts or our relationship was over. Her response? She laughed and said I was crazy if I thought she'd give up thousands of dollars worth of gifts for our relationship. Then she just put on her sleep mask and went back to bed like nothing happened. I packed some clothes and left that night. I couldn't stand being disrespected like that. One of my buddies, Ryan, told me straight up that she was probably sleeping with the producer for those gifts, but I still couldn't bring myself to accuse her of cheating without proof. A week passed, then 2. She didn't call or message me once. She was active on social media, posting like everything was fine. Just when I had decided to go back and have it out with her once and for all, she called. She sounded different on the phone, softer, more like her old self. She asked me to come home so we could work things out. When I got there, she hugged me tight and apologized for everything. She said she had been selfish and stupid, and that she had returned all the gifts because our relationship meant more to her than any expensive present. I was relieved. It felt like we might actually get past this. Then she dropped another bombshell. She was pregnant. She showed me the positive pregnancy test, and suddenly everything else seemed less important. I had always wanted to be a father, and now it was happening. I was sure this would be the turning point in our relationship. For the next few months, things did get better. She became more caring and respectful, started coming home on time, and seemed focused on preparing for the baby. I worked even harder at both my jobs to save money for the baby. I never checked her phone again because she assured me she had cut all contact with the producer. On my birthday, she surprised me with a party. She invited our close friends and did something I never expected. She proposed to me. Yes, she got down on one knee and asked me to marry her. I said yes, of course. We were having a baby together, and it didn't matter who proposed to whom. But 2 days after the proposal, everything fell apart again. I caught her ending a phone call when I walked into our bedroom. She tried to act casual, but I knew something was off. That night, I waited until she fell asleep and checked her phone again. What I found destroyed me completely. The messages between her and the music producer revealed everything. I wasn't the father of her baby. He was. Or at least, that's what they thought at first. They had planned everything. She would make me believe it was my child, and he would secretly send money for the baby's expenses. I couldn't believe what I was reading. I left that night and checked into a cheap hotel. I couldn't eat or sleep properly for days. How could someone be so cruel? We had been together for almost 4 years, and this was how she repaid my trust. When I finally went back home, I decided to handle things differently. I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I started distancing myself. I stopped doing the little things I used to do for her. I came home late and left early, avoiding her as much as possible. She noticed the change and started complaining. Now in her 5th month of pregnancy, she had quit her job and stayed at home. She would cry and say I wasn't ready to be a father, that she regretted keeping the baby because I was making things difficult. But her tears meant nothing to me anymore. Finally, I decided to ask for a paternity test. When I brought it up, she exploded. She called me paranoid and said I was letting stupid internet stories get into my head. She cried and asked how I could accuse her of such a thing after everything we'd been through. If I hadn't seen those messages myself, I might have actually felt guilty. That night, I packed my bags for good. I left a note telling her I knew I wasn't the father. She called me immediately, begging to meet and talk like adults. That's when she revealed something even more shocking. The producer wasn't the only one. There had been others. She had been seeing multiple guys who would take her shopping. The producer had actually heard rumors about her other relationships and had done his own paternity test, which came back negative. She had been trying to pin the pregnancy on me because she had no idea who the real father was. I blocked her number after that conversation. She tried to get our mutual friends to talk to me, but once they heard the truth, they all cut ties with her. She ended up alone, with no job, no money, and no support system. She later admitted through a friend that she had wanted to fit in with her new wealthy friends at the restaurant, and that desire had destroyed our relationship. Looking back now, I'm grateful I discovered the truth when I did. The thought of raising a child for years, loving them as my own, only to discover the truth later, that would have been far worse. The whole experience taught me that sometimes the people we trust the most can hurt us the deepest. I've moved to a different city now and started fresh. I still hear about her occasionally through mutual acquaintances. Last I heard, she had moved back in with her parents. Sometimes I think about how differently things could have turned out if she had just been honest from the start. But I've learned that you can't build a future on lies, no matter how comfortable those lies might feel in the moment. The hardest part wasn't losing her. It was losing the person I thought she was. For 4 years, I believed I knew her completely, but in the end, I didn't know her at all. If there's one thing I've learned from all this, it's that trust, once broken, is like a mirror. You can fix it, but you'll always see the cracks in the reflection. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.